The silver-blue light of Centauri primes 3 moons filtered through the crystalline dome of the Intelligence Directorate's highest tower. Nadia Valerian stood at rigid attention, her violet eyes, genetically modified for enhanced perception, focused on Director Thaxis as he paced before her. "The humans have agreed to negotiations," Thaxis said, his elongated fingers manipulating the holographic display between them. "This represents an opportunity we cannot ignore." Nadia nodded slightly, her platinum hair, luminescent with bioluminescent strands that responded to her emotional state, remaining perfectly still. Years of conditioning had taught her to control even involuntary responses. "I understand, Director." "Admiral Julian Blackwood," Thaxis continued, enlarging the image of a tall, broad-shouldered human with penetrating gray eyes and a stern expression. Despite the severity of his features, there was something compelling about him that Nadia instantly recognized. "He leads the human delegation. Our intelligence suggests he's the linchpin of their diplomatic effort." "And my mission?" Nadia asked, though she already knew. This was her specialty, what the Directorate had engineered her for. "Get close, extract information about their military positions near the Rigelian corridor, then eliminate him." Thaxis paused, studying her reaction. "We've received intelligence that without Blackwood, the human coalition will fracture. Their more aggressive factions will gain control." Nadia absorbed the information without comment. The justification hardly mattered. His psychological profile. Widowed 3 years ago, devoted to his work since then, no serious relationships, though numerous opportunities. Thaxis smiled thinly. "He has a particular appreciation for art, literature, and intelligent conversation. You'll find complete dossiers on your secured tablet." The unspoken message was clear. Use whatever means necessary. The Directorate had enhanced her pheromone production, given her empathic sensitivity to read and respond to desires before they were even consciously formed. She was a weapon designed for intimate infiltration. "You leave for neutral station Artemis within the hour. Your cover identity as cultural attaché Elara Devereaux is already established." Thaxis handed her a crystalline chip. "Inject this before departure. It will temporarily modify your DNA signature to match your cover." As Nadia prepared in her quarters, she reviewed Blackwood's file meticulously. Distinguished military career. Advisor to 3 successive human presidents. Known for his strategic brilliance and unwavering integrity. Recently, he'd become an outspoken advocate for peace with the Centaurian Collective, a position that had earned him enemies within his own government. Curious, she thought, why eliminate someone pushing for the very peace negotiations the Collective had agreed to? But questioning the Directorate's motives wasn't part of her programming. She had been created in their labs, raised to serve. The lingering doubts were merely an imperfection in her conditioning. On the transport vessel, Nadia injected the DNA modifier and watched her skin shift from its subtle lavender hue to the peachy tone of a human woman. Her eyes darkened from violet to deep brown. Only her platinum hair remained unchanged, though the bioluminescent qualities dimmed. She spent the journey studying human customs, refining her accent, and preparing her approach. Admiral Blackwood would expect any diplomat to be well-versed in interstellar politics. According to his file, he appreciated partners who challenged him intellectually. What the file didn't mention, what Nadia couldn't have known, was that 3 days earlier Blackwood had received his own briefing. "We have credible intelligence that the Centaurians will send an assassin," Fleet Intelligence Commander Ortega had told him. "Likely one of their infiltration specialists, engineered for seduction and deception." Blackwood had nodded grimly. "Let them come, we'll turn their game against them." As Nadia's transport docked at neutral station Artemis, she stood at the viewport, watching the massive structure grow larger. Somewhere within that labyrinth of diplomats, merchants, and spies, Admiral Julian Blackwood awaited, unaware that she was coming for him. Or so she believed. The grand atrium of neutral station Artemis buzzed with diplomatic activity, representatives from 17 star systems mingling under the massive transparent dome that showcased the glittering starfield beyond. Nadia, now fully in her role as cultural attaché Elara Devereaux, navigated the crowd with practiced grace, her champagne flute barely touched. Her enhanced senses had already located Admiral Blackwood across the room, his commanding presence impossible to miss even among the interstellar dignitaries. He stood tall among a small group of human and Arcturian officials, his voice carrying just enough to suggest authority without seeming domineering. "Fascinating suggestion, Ambassador," he was saying to an Arcturian diplomat, "though I wonder about the implications for the neutral zones." Nadia circled the gathering slowly, positioning herself to appear as though she were merely passing by when Blackwood finished his conversation. The Directorate's intelligence was impressively accurate. Everything about him matched his dossier, from his disciplined posture to the way he thoughtfully considered each word before speaking. What surprised her was his unexpected warmth, the genuine smile that occasionally broke through his professional demeanor. When the moment presented itself, Nadia executed the accidental meeting with perfect timing, nearly colliding with him as he stepped away from his group. "My apologies," she offered with just the right amount of embarrassment, stabilizing herself with a light touch to his arm. "The fault is entirely mine," Blackwood responded, his gray eyes meeting hers with startling intensity. "I should watch where I'm retreating." "Retreating from diplomacy? That seems unlike you, Admiral Blackwood." She allowed herself a small smile at his raised eyebrow. "You have me at a disadvantage." "Ilara Devereaux, cultural attaché with the Centaurian delegation." She extended her hand in the human fashion. His grip was firm, and she detected the slightest hesitation, so brief most would miss it. "A pleasure, Ms. Devereaux, though I'm curious how a cultural attaché recognizes a military officer so readily." "Your reputation precedes you," she replied smoothly. "Your essay on cross-species artistic influences during war times was quite illuminating." Something flickered in his eyes, interest certainly, but also a calculating assessment. "You've read my obscure academic publications? Now I'm truly impressed." Their conversation flowed with surprising ease as they discussed art, literature, and the subtle cultural miscommunications that had historically complicated human-Centaurian relations. Nadia deployed her training flawlessly, reading his micro-expressions and adjusting her responses to build rapport. Yet something felt different from previous missions. His responses seemed almost calibrated to intrigue her in return. "Perhaps you'd join me tomorrow," he suggested as the reception wound down. "There's an exhibition of pre-space flight artwork from both our worlds. I'm curious about your perspective." "I'd be delighted," she answered, allowing her fingertips to brush his hand. A seemingly accidental contact that would deliver a subtle dose of her enhanced pheromones. What Nadia couldn't know was that Blackwood returned to his quarters and immediately activated a biohazard scan, confirming the presence of synthetic compounds on his skin where she'd touched him. He smiled grimly as he washed his hands with a neutralizing solution. "Computer, secure communication to Intelligence Command," he instructed. "Contact established with suspected Centaurian operative, proceeding as planned." Over the next week, Nadia skillfully maneuvered herself deeper into Blackwood's professional circle. Their meetings, always in public spaces, grew longer, their conversations more personal. She detected his growing attraction, carefully nurtured through both her natural charisma and her enhanced abilities. For Blackwood's part, he maintained his vigilance while appearing to lower his guard. He allowed her glimpses of seemingly sensitive information, each piece carefully crafted by fleet intelligence. Yet as they spent more time together, something unexpected was happening. Despite knowing her likely mission, he found himself genuinely enjoying her company, impressed by her insights and quick wit. After their third meeting, he recorded in his secure log, "Subject demonstrates exceptional intelligence and adaptability. Approach proceeding as expected, but caution advised. Her cover identity is remarkably compelling." What he didn't record was how her laugh had caught him off guard, or how, for just a moment, he'd forgotten she was the enemy. Nadia stood at the viewport in Blackwood's private quarters, gazing at the distant nebula that painted the darkness with swirls of crimson and gold. Behind her, Blackwood poured 2 glasses of rare Terran whiskey, his movements deliberate and controlled. 3 weeks into her mission, and she had finally secured an invitation to his personal space, a significant advancement for her objectives. Yet the achievement felt hollow, tainted by the growing complexity of her feelings. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Blackwood said, joining her at the viewport. "The Carina Nebula, 1,000 light-years from Earth, yet somehow it reminds me of home." She accepted the offered glass, allowing her fingers to brush his. "What was home like for you, Julian?" The use of his first name marked another carefully calculated shift in their relationship. He seemed to consider her question with genuine reflection, leaning against the transparent aluminum barrier that separated them from the vacuum. Coastal New England, violent storms in winter, perfect blue skies in summer. A shadow crossed his face. My wife loved the changing seasons. The mention of his deceased wife was unexpected, a personal detail he hadn't shared before. Nadia recognized the strategic opening and placed her hand gently on his forearm. You must miss her terribly. Every day, he admitted, his voice low, though lately. He turned to her then, his gray eyes searching hers with an intensity that made her enhanced heartbeat quicken. When he leaned forward to kiss her, Nadia responded with practiced skill, but something unfamiliar stirred within her, a warmth not programmed by her creators. His hands moved to her waist, pulling her closer as the kiss deepened. Nadia's training had prepared her for this moment, using physical intimacy to lower defenses, to extract information and position herself for the final mission objective. Yet as their embrace intensified, she found herself responding with unexpected authenticity. Later, as they lay tangled in his sheets, Nadia traced the outline of an old combat scar on his shoulder. This was the moment to deploy the subtle neurochemical interrogation techniques she'd been engineered for, when his mind would be most receptive, his guard lowest. Tell me about your discussions with the Arcturian delegation, she whispered. You seemed concerned yesterday. Blackwood's fingers continued their lazy path along her spine, but she detected the slight tension in his muscles at her question. Diplomatic posturing, nothing more. The real challenge is coordinating our fleet movements during the talks. We're repositioning the 7th Fleet next week. The information registered in her mind as significant, exactly the kind of intelligence the Directorate sought. Yet she hesitated to probe further, disturbed by her reluctance to exploit this moment. What Nadia couldn't know was that this information was carefully crafted disinformation. As she lay in his arms, seemingly vulnerable, Blackwood was executing his counterintelligence strategy with precision. The 7th Fleet would remain exactly where it was, the false movement designed to reveal Centaurian monitoring capabilities when they inevitably responded. Yet Blackwood, too, was struggling with unexpected complications. Her body against his felt right in ways he hadn't experienced since losing his wife. When she looked at him with those deep brown eyes, artificially colored though he knew they were, he glimpsed something beyond deception, something genuine that made his mission increasingly difficult. You're thinking very loudly, she murmured, pressing her lips to his chest. Just considering possibilities, he replied, rolling her beneath him once more. In the days that followed, their relationship intensified both publicly and privately. Nadia began accompanying Blackwood to secondary diplomatic functions, introduced as a cultural liaison helping bridge understanding between their species. During one such event, she excused herself to the restroom, using the opportunity to access Blackwood's secured tablet he'd left in his jacket. 15 precious seconds with the decryption tools embedded in her fingernails gave her access to his personal communications. What she found disturbed her deeply. Contrary to the Directorate's claims, Blackwood was actively advocating for concessions favorable to Centaurian interests. His private messages revealed a man genuinely committed to lasting peace, not the warmongering obstacle her superiors had described. That night, as they made love with increasing familiarity and passion, Nadia's conditioning battled with her growing doubts. Blackwood held her with a tenderness that made her mission seem increasingly impossible to complete. When he whispered her cover name against her skin, she felt a stab of guilt that no amount of genetic engineering could suppress. For his part, Blackwood was fighting his own internal war. The woman in his arms was an enemy operative, yet with each passing day, the line between target and lover blurred dangerously. After she fell asleep, he sent a heavily encrypted message to Fleet Intelligence. Asset increasingly valuable. Request delay on extraction plan. Believe deeper intelligence possible. What he didn't include was how watching her sleep made him question everything about this operation, and whether he could go through with his own deception much longer.